Welcome to the Down South Hunting Podcast, presented by OnX Hunt. I'm Adam Cruz with Mike Higman, and we are in the middle of the New Ground Challenge, presented again by OnX. And we've had a lot of fun with it, you and I. We know that we've had some listeners and some friends of ours had some success already landing some properties. Mike, why don't you update us on what you're doing with OnX right now?
All right, so I have not had any success landing properties yet. It's been a challenge for me so far, Adam.
That's why it's called a challenge, man.
That's right, and I'm certainly not giving up yet. So I've had a couple days. So my goal so far has been, I'm in sales, so I drive around the state quite a bit, and my goal has been, while I'm just going through some more rural areas, and I'm doing air quotes over rural because I'm here in Florida, to try to find some places and stop just while I'm out. And I've struggled so far to find some areas that are big enough properties to hunt on and are not owned by basically giant citrus groves and giant ranches. Usually there's some big chunks of property, and they're surrounded by like little, say like 5-acre or less chunks that are completely cleared. So I've been trying to hit these areas, and I was thinking, I'd be able to at least, I wouldn't mind asking some of these ranch owners or citrus growers, but the problem is they're just giant chunks of property. They don't live on them. So I haven't been able to successfully find some places to ask yet. My other challenge is, these places I'm driving by are, hour and a half, 2 hours from my house. So, just grabbing like a little 10-acre chunk somewhere doesn't quite feel right. So the thing is, there's a lot of other areas I have left to cover. So the couple days that I've planned on doing it, I've stopped and been looking at the maps and haven't been able to nail anything down. I need to go back to the drawing board a little bit and choose some areas that are even more rural and maybe have some tree farms and that kind of stuff on them. So a little bit back to the drawing board. I'm not giving up yet, and I've got some plans. I may try to take my kids out on a Saturday, and I think a big part of this, I want to find somewhere where I can hunt with my kids. I love hunting the public land here in Florida, but it's not somewhere good to take my kids. So I'm looking for somewhere, even if I'm just shooting hogs or something, to get my kids more into hunting. That's my plan so far. So I'm excited about giving you an update next week about how that's going. How about you, Adam?
That sounds good.
What's your experience with so far?
So far, I've landed a piece of public property, and I know that sounds weird. I've landed a piece of public property. Well, the public property is inaccessible because it's landlocked. And there's only one way to get through it, and that's through private access. Sure enough, I've been doing a lot of research on OnX Maps, finding different places where I wanted to target and drive by. So last week, me and the boys, we jumped in the truck, got the binoculars. They love doing that. I actually play a game with them. So whoever spots the most deer, I'll give them $1. So they have a really big blast doing that. We drive around, look for deer, and while we're doing that, I'm also surveying different properties that I wanted to look at. So different access points from either private or public. So I drove past this property. I'm not going to give too many details on it because I think people could probably figure it out. But man, this was like prime time public land piece of property, and it's only accessible through this one private access, actually 2 private access pieces. Anyways, look, get the names off OnX. I Googled the names, ended up going through a website in my county where basically it'll tell phone numbers and addresses and stuff like that. So I had to get a little bit more information because with OnX in the state of Tennessee, or at least the county I'm in, it doesn't provide the phone number. I know a lot of the places you're in, I think you have addresses that are available. Anyways, long story short, I Facebooked this person. I sent him a Facebook message and got a response back and got access to this piece of public property. So it's about 200 acres. It's landlocked. I'm not sure if I'll be the only person that has access to it, but the way that it sounded, I will. And actually one of the ways that I gained access was I asked for access to the WMA. I didn't say that I was going to hunt. I said, can I have access to the WMA through your property? And we made arrangements where I could do that. I just have to call ahead. So I'm super stoked, man. I'm going to be doing more of that. I've got a bunch of handwritten letters. I have 6 handwritten letters and 3 typed letters that I need to send out. So we'll see how that turns out next week or the next couple of weeks, anyways.
That's awesome, man. That's really exciting. And we talked about this earlier. Maybe there'd be an opportunity to actually hunt that property that you're accessing through at some point. So, man, sounds like
sure.
So far so good for the challenge for you. One on the board for Adam. I'm still sitting at 0, but I'm not giving up yet.
So I guess for everyone else that's listening, we call this the OnX Challenge, the New Ground Challenge. And although we're calling it a challenge, you don't actually win by gaining access to the most properties or anything like that. Literally, we're collecting email addresses. And once we're done with the amount of days, which is September 1st, then we'll choose the winner. So it's basically like the honor system. I know we've had a few people asking about, hey, I've already got 2 or 3 places. How does that rank me? Well, everybody, as long as you sign up, you have as much of a chance to win as anyone else does.
Except that you can get more chances by sharing it. And there have been a few people that have been on fire sharing this thing. So,
yes,
if you've already joined the challenge, you haven't done anything else, you certainly have a chance to win. It's you don't get, it's not going to be the most automatically gets it, but it is like you get more raffle tickets. So
exactly.
Make sure you're sharing it and following all the companies that are involved and that kind of stuff. Get all the points you can to increase your chances. There have definitely been some people that are taking it serious and have done very well sharing it. So I'd encourage everyone else to do that as well.
Hey, we need to mention one thing. When you sign up on your phone, there is no button to share it on Facebook other than Facebook Messenger. And that's the way most people are signing up for the contest, it looks like. If you did it on your desktop, there was an option to share it on Facebook. So the people that are actually having the most success and gaining the most entries are the ones that are sharing it on Facebook from the link. So what you do is you go back into the link through your email and copy the link, post that on Facebook, whether it's on your profile, whether it's in your favorite hunting group, and you would be surprised how many entries you can get from doing that. Like, we've got a couple of guys that have a crazy amount of entries because they have been posting the sucker on groups, on their profile, and whenever someone signs up under their link, they get credit for that. And I think it's like 3 extra entries for every sign up when you do that.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can come back every day and just automatically get points just by going to that same link again and clicking on come back every day. So even if you're not sharing it or that kind of stuff, there's ways to get more points as well. And just to remind people some of the prizes that it's definitely worth doing a little extra work for. First of all, there's going to be 16 different winners at this point. Adam and I are still working to get some more sponsors involved so that we might be able to get some more prizes as well. We're trying to make this the best we can. But some of those things are a set of Vortex Diamondback binoculars. Mossy Oak Gamekeepers is kicking in a membership to their club, basically, which is, I think that's like $100 value. They're giving away another subscription to their Gamekeepers magazine, which Will Primos has said, is one of the best magazines out there. You're kicking out a QDMA membership. Hunting Gear Deals is putting in a $100 Cabela's gift card. OnX is giving away elite memberships, which is the one that's good for the whole country. And then there's some other apparel stuff from like Nomad and Mountain Ops. You can go on the site and see the list again. I don't want to bore everybody with the stuff on there, but it's definitely
16 winners.
Getting on their sign.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
When's the last time there was a hunting giveaway when there were 16 winners? This is legitimately the biggest one in 2018. Biggest giveaway. We're not giving away a truck here, but come on. It's a lot.
And we're working hard to try to make it bigger. We got some other companies that are interested in as well. So we're doing what we can to make this the biggest thing we can. So anyway, we've got hunting seasons like right around the corner, Adam. It's like less than 2 months away now. So what else have you been doing hunting wise besides getting access to some public land that you hadn't had access to before?
Well, I'm way less than 2 months away from hunting season. I'm less than 30 days away from hunting season.
That's crazy. That's so awesome.
It is crazy, man. So the Tennessee, we talked about they got this velvet hunt that opens up August 24th to the 26th, and I'm gonna hunt the 24th and 25th. I'm gonna go back home. I'm not gonna talk too much about what's going on there, but I feel like I have a really good shot at maybe filling that tag. And then the very next weekend, I'm going to Kentucky for the Kentucky opener with Jason, which we've talked about, and that'll be a pretty short hunt. I think probably 2 days, and maybe, man, if I could fill 2 tags in 7 days, that would be unbelievable. But I'm not banking on that. I'm just excited to get to go. Honestly, just ready to get out there, man. How about you on your side? I mean, you 2 months away. What are you doing right now? I know you've got one place you went and scouted this weekend.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not even 2 months, man. I don't know where that number's coming from, because 2 months would be like we're like in October, so, and I'm a little over a month away too. So
nice, good.
Yeah, but I've got some exciting news. In Florida, I don't know if we've talked about this at all or on the podcast. I know you and I have talked about it, but there's an island in North Florida called St. Vincent Island, and it's got these deer on it. They're called sandbar deer, and they're non-native, obviously. But they're from Asia, and they get up to be like 400 to 600 pounds. And they're semi-aquatic animals. They live in the marshes and the swamps. But basically, back in the early 1900s, this rich dude bought this island and kind of made his own game preserve. And everything else from that island has died off. It's public land now, except for these sandbar deer. And there's like a couple hundred of them. And every year, Florida offers up a hunt for them. And I missed the drawing for the hunt. I didn't miss doing it, but I didn't get drawn for it. But there's a redraw of all the leftover tags, and I drew one of those leftover tags. So I'm going to be doing that this December. I'm really excited about doing it. It's a primitive hunt, so basically there's no power on the island. They got porta potties out there for bathrooms, but
that's crazy. Well, that's cool that they have that. Food,
3-day hunt. It's pretty awesome. It's like the Florida poor man's version of an elk hunt. There's no mountains.
That's awesome.
You're like hunting on the beach, but there's these giant deer. Yeah, look, it's SAMBAR. So if you're curious about it, just Google them. They're awesome. So I've been a few times before. I've seen a couple. Haven't been able to get any shots off. It's a primitive hunt as well, so you can either use a bow or a muzzleloader. My style. I'm going to be bringing the muzzleloader because I want the best shot I can get.
I like it.
Yeah, that's one exciting thing. The other cool thing is I went and did some. I got in that same redraw. I got some more public land, so I went out and did some scouting the first time this year. Put my first trail camera out, so I'm excited. I've been just thinking about it once in a while, like, man, that camera's out there doing work for me. I'm excited about checking it. I probably won't even check that camera until I'm like getting into hunt. And that hunt's probably not till, I think that one's in December too. So anyway, man, I'm just getting excited. Season's like right around the corner.
Let me ask you this. So I put in for the sandbar hunt this year. When should I expect or anticipate possibly drawing this thing if I continue to put in for it every year?
I don't know, man, because I told you I drew it twice. The first time I drew it, it was in the redraw, which, let me tell you guys, the redraw is first come, first serve, and you gotta be hitting refresh on your computer, and you gotta put all your credit card information in there. And I tell you what, I must have something going for me because I've gotten it 3 times doing that, and I know a lot of people that have never gotten it. So, I guess.
So what's the redraw about though? Like, why is there
something right? What's that?
Why is there redraw? Is it because the tags were returned, or what happened?
There's like 200 tags, and I guess like half the people that draw them don't even go, so they never pay for their tag. So then that automatically goes back into the system, and usually there's like 100 tags that they do a redraw on, or maybe 75, something like that. And I don't know how many thousands of people are trying to get them. So hopefully I'm not making anybody mad talking about how I keep redrawing them. But,
somebody's going to think you have too much time on your hands.
Yeah. I only have too much time at 10 o'clock on the day of the redraw when I'm sitting there hitting the refresh button. So
hey, whatever it takes, man. Sometimes you just got to set aside a little time for that.
Yep. So I'm super pumped about getting to do that. So So yeah, I guess that kind of sums up the last week or so in our hunting lives. Fortunately, it's only been about 8-9 days since we recorded again, which is pretty good for us.
Yeah, man, we've been slow to record, but I know we're back on the train, so slow and steady.
So on the Hunting in the South group, we set up a page for everybody that's participating in this New Ground Challenge, basically to ask questions on how people are doing things and update and that kind of stuff. So we put out there that we're interested in having some people on the podcast that have had some success doing that. And if you're not on Facebook, that's cool. Reach out to us and let us know if you're participating and you've got some stories to share. We'd love to have you on the show. And one of the people that shared with us was Tom Waters, and he's from Louisville, Kentucky. And he reached out and said he had some success. And so I just talked to him. And it's pretty cool, so don't skip forward if you're not interested in listening, because he actually drew a Kentucky elk hunt, which, I didn't know we were going to be talking about that. So, yeah, make sure you listen to check that out. And he's also got some good tips. It's really interesting, Adam, that you said you had some success on Facebook because he did as well. So let's go ahead and listen to that interview real quick. Yeah, and hopefully that's helpful to everybody that's in the challenge and basically encourages you, even if you're not in the challenge, even if you don't want to join the drawing, I encourage everybody to try to get some more access for this season because you can never have enough ground. So let's go ahead and jump into that interview, and then we got our interview with Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett from Primos right after that.
Sounds good.
All right, we reached out on our Hunting in the South Facebook group, and we asked for some people that had some experience using OnX and who joined the challenge and had some success getting some access. And Tom Waters from Louisville, Kentucky reached back and said that he'd love to talk to us. So I'm really excited to have him on the program. Welcome to Down South Hunting, Tom.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so like I said, you've had some success, and I wanted to hear about basically how you've done it and how it's worked out for you. But first of all, I guess how long have you been using OnX?
This will be my second full season, so I used it all of last year.
Okay. And how'd you find out about it?
Different podcasts and social media. I think maybe the initial time I heard about it was probably Randy Newberg.
Uh-huh. Have you done any Western hunting? I know it's real popular with guys going from the east to the west. Did you do some Western hunting with it, or just start out?
I have not. No, I'd love to. It's definitely on the bucket list. I've hunted elk, but only here in Kentucky, so I haven't got out west to do any hunting yet. But hopefully get to do that someday.
Oh man, well, this was totally not in the works or the plans, but you got to tell me about your Kentucky elk hunt because I know that's a real tough draw, isn't it?
It really is. It's I got a cow archery tag back in. I drew one back in 2014, and fortunately was successful. But yeah, the odds are ridiculous. It's just a lottery, and they're down to now about 500 tags a year, and they get about, I think it's around 30 to 40,000 total applicants for rifle, archery, etc. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So what's the success rates on that? Is that like almost an automatic? If you draw the tag, you'll be able to get one?
Hasn't really been, but I think that's somewhat, I think the numbers might be a little bit skewed. I think the success rate's around 45% for archery cow, but I think a lot of guys get the cow archery tag and really don't pursue it the same way they would if they got a bull tag. I think the bulls are somewhere around 55 to 60%.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I mean, the chance to get some elk meat locally, I'd definitely be real motivated to get it.
Yeah, it's just you pay $10 for your lottery, and if you get it, great. If you're resident, the tag's only like $50, $60, something like that. But yeah, it's a neat thing, and I'm happy that I was able to get lucky. I hope more people do because it's a heck of an experience.
Yeah. So how did you prepare for the hunt, and how did it go? That's maybe a quick story.
Sure. Basically, I live in Louisville, as you said, and the elk zone in Kentucky is in the eastern, southeastern area down where the mountains are, near Tennessee and West Virginia, where all the states come together. And you can either do it yourself, which I didn't really have the time to do the scouting, or you can use an outfitter. And there's a number of outfitters, but it's not at least it isn't what I think of when I think of an outfitter. There's more local people there, and they just kind of hook up with you, and it's not too expensive, but they help you with the pack out, and they put you on areas. Most of the areas that you hunt are public access, not just public land, but land owned by coal mining companies that allow hunting for elk on their property. So just about anybody can get into anywhere. The vast majority of the elk that are taken either on coal leases or on public land. So I was lucky the very first day we went out. We were able to get on a number of cows, and was able to get one. It was pretty interesting, because it's so much different than deer hunting. I'd never done anything other than deer with a bow at that point. It's a lot more, like people say, it's a lot more like turkey hunting. There's a lot more movement and trying to intercept them, and just a different style spot and stalk hunting versus deer hunting.
So yeah, did you spotted some like out in a meadow or something? Did you do any calling?
Yeah, we were glassing, and were able to see some in some woods. You'd spoken about how much easier you'd heard that it had been, and it used to be that way in Kentucky, but they've gotten where they're not really out as much. They're more back up in the woods. So we saw some in the woods, and we circled around to get in front of them, and we came down below and started working around a ridge, kind of a trail around a ridge. And as we saw one, but the shot was too far, about 70 yards away. I didn't want to take that shot. So as she got away, we started working around this ridge, and another cow rather, came around the trail, and the guide was in front of me, and he said, elk 20 yards. He jumps behind me, and as soon as it came in front of that boulder, straight in front of me, I was able to get an arrow into it, and had a pretty easy pull out, because we were at the top of the hill and it went down the hill, which was great. So we took the truck down at the bottom of the hill and was able to get it without having to do very much heavy lifting.
Man, that's awesome. So that's a fun little tangent that we didn't count on, but I guess that's the fun of podcasting. You never know where these things are going to go, and we can talk about whatever we want. So, well, that's really cool. I'm sure you're probably even more excited to go hunt them out west then, and experience what that's like and compare it.
Yeah, just the beauty of the area, out there, to be able to do it, in the Rockies would be fantastic, because even if you're not successful, I mean, those areas are so beautiful. I can't imagine what it would be like to be up there hunting.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to OnX a little bit. So what is your typical strategy for trying to gain access to some property using OnX?
That's the thing that really moved me toward it more than anything else, is the information as to who owns the property. I don't know if anybody else is doing that, but that really jumped out at me. My daughter, who just walked in about 4 or 5 years ago, we all go out this time of year and we're driving around looking for deer. And I was always doing that. And she'd ask my wife, she said, where's he going? What's he doing? She says, oh, he's out looking at deer. And she says, well, that's awkward. And so basically she's called it my awkward drive from all that time. So when I'm going on an awkward drive, I go around and look in areas close to Louisville. I do a lot of urban hunting too. And I've got a few friends that have places around here that let me hunt on them. But as I'm driving around different areas, I'd see deer, and I think, man, I wonder who owns this property. But I had no real way of doing it until OnX came. And with the app, I mean, if you've looked at it, you can sit there and pull up any property. You can see the boundaries on it, which is extremely helpful. But it'll also give you the owner. And if it's an individual, it's really not that hard to find them. What I did in the one instance, as far as the ability to hunt on this one property that I got last year, and this will be the first time that I hunted on it this year. I was driving around, and I've been in this area forever and ever and always seen deer. Didn't know who owned it. But I found it on there, so I found the person's name. And then Louisville's a really big little town. I mean, everybody knows everybody. It's pretty well connected. And basically, I pulled up the owner's name and then looked for them on social media and found their Facebook page. And on the Facebook page, I was able to find out some mutual friends that we had. So I reached out to one of the friends of mine that was also friends with this person, and they were able to arrange an introduction, and I was able to get access that way.
That is really smart. I haven't heard that strategy yet. Is that something you'd seen somewhere else, or just kind of put two and two together there?
Well, probably put two and two together. In a former life, for a number of years, I was in credit collections, and we do a lot of skip tracing. And basically, my mind still kind of works in those in that way. And if you want to find something out, especially today with social media, I mean, you can pretty much get some information about somebody in a million different ways with the internet and social media, et cetera. But it was really fortunate because the mutual friend that we had, is a really good friend of mine. So he was able to help me out there. And then in addition, the other thing that I would tell people that do this, I was also able to get permission on some other property that this guy had that I wasn't even aware of. So don't just stop at the point of getting some permission. Ask the person if they have any other land or any other holdings, or if they know somebody, and really leverage that, because chances are if they've got some, then they'll let you hunt on it. If they've got any more, they're more likely to let you get on there too, if you handle it properly.
So have you had any other instances? Have you done any like just cold calling, like just knocking on doors with people where you've seen some deer?
I have, and I have not had the success there. I've probably done that, I don't know, probably 40 times, not, before OnX. But I think knowing something about, being able to approach them just not at their door, like being able to reach out through another individual, or at least have some common information. I mean, even if I didn't know somebody that knew them, I think you can get a little bit of a feel about who that person is. You'll see their hobbies, you'll see things that they're into, what sports teams they follow, or if they've got kids that are doing something that similar to your kids. Do some homework before you contact that person. Then you've got some commonality and an ability to have a conversation other than just, hey, I want to hunt your property, because they probably get hit with that, pretty regularly. You want to have a different approach to get a different result, I'd say.
Man, that's pretty smart. Yeah. So, and really, if you're one of these people that's like real nervous about going to knock on somebody's door, you probably could just try to friend them on Facebook and ask on Facebook Messenger or something. So that's definitely a different way to look at things. And yeah, I'm really glad we got to talk about this.
Well, I appreciate it. I am too. I think it's a heck of a product. I mean, if you get one place that you have access to out of it, I mean, how does it not pay for itself? And I mean, it's got a million other features that are really, really beneficial. But the ability to gain access, I mean, I think that's what all of us fight. We can't have enough places to hunt. And because not only you may not have enough now, but you can lose one of those at any point. I just think it's a great tool.
Yeah, so real quick, without giving us too many details, so everybody's going to be trying to ask permission at the same place, tell me a little bit about that property. Like, how big is it? Is it
sure?
What kind of property is it?
Yeah, it's pretty slick. It's probably about 45 acres, and it's behind a really nice subdivision of estates, probably with 5 to 7 acre lots each. I feel pretty comfortable for not having hunted it before. I've had cell cams on it and trail cams on it for about the last couple of 3 months. And I think I posted on your Facebook wall one of the bucks, one of the nicer bucks that's on there. So I'm pretty excited about it. And it's really close to where I live. So it's just, I couldn't ask for a better setup. I've been looking at the place for years and jonesing to get on there. And now I can't believe I finally have it. Without OnX, I wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, that's awesome. The picture is up it's in the Hunting in the South group, and we got a thread for basically for the New Ground Challenge. So if you're interested, jump on there and check that out. And if you've been asking permission or gonna be, we're definitely looking for some more users to talk to about it. So reach out to us and let us know. But Tom, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really glad we got to talk about this. It's cool to get to talk about that elk hunt as well. So good luck this season. And maybe we could share a story after the season, how you've been successful.
I hope we can, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks again to Tom for doing that for us. Let's go ahead and jump into the next interview. And this interview was done at DeerCon, the QDMA convention. And we talked to Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett. Those two are guys that are camera guys for the Primos crew, and they also do some hunting for the show as well. So they were a lot of fun to talk to. Let's go ahead and jump into that.
This is Mike Higman, and I'm with Kyle Bennett.
Hey, guys.
And Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett, and we are at the QDMA convention, DeerCon 2018. We're excited to talk to these guys. Kyle, you take it away.
Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your background in hunting, how y'all guys started working for Primos?
I was born and raised in Brandon, Mississippi. Grew up, most like most people in the Southeast, grew up in a hunting family, deer hunting, all that kind of stuff. Grew up watching Primos videos. It was a story that I tell a lot of people is funny. You could ask like my mom when I was like 10 years old when she asked like what I was going to be, what I wanted to do when I grew up. I always said I wanted to go work for Primos. I didn't know that's what was really going to plan out, but it's what I always, wanted to do. So we'd run around, when we was in high school with little handy cams, filming our buddies and stuff and all that kind of whatnot. And when I was 20 years old, a good friend of mine named Keith Pope, I was in community college at the time, and Keith was like, hey, have you ever heard of a Midwest Whitetails internship program? So I was like, no, I have not. And so Midwest Whitetail had this deal where they could they took on 5 interns a year, video editing and running cameras and that kind of stuff. And I just applied on a whim, and I kind of just, how I got to working with Primos, I credit to it's just the Lord's timing and everything, because just how it all unfolded. I didn't know it, but the year that I applied was the first year that Midwest was doing a Southeast regional show, and I was the only kid from the Southeast that applied. So I got the show. I got the internship, went up there, worked with those guys, super nice guys. Aaron Warbritton was probably my main supervisor up there. Great guy. Great person to learn under. He runs the Hunting Public now, if y'all have ever heard of that. Great show. And then little on down the line, Aaron helped me get in contact with Brad Ferris, who works for Primos, and then make a long story short, like it all just kind of, again, just fell into place. I was actually at Mississippi State about to start classes again, ended up running into Brad, and they needed some more people on their team, and it was like 2 weeks before classes at Mississippi State started, and then like I run into Brad, and then I had to like pull out of Mississippi State, and then I was like filming Brad in New Mexico elk hunting 2 weeks later. It just kind of happened.
What did your parents think about that?
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I showed up to the Primos office to interview, right? And like I said, I grew up like 30 minutes from the office, but I'd never been to the office, I'd met some of the, Primos guys, but I'd never met Will ever. And so the first time I see Will is when I'm coming in there to interview, and he tells me, like, we talk, and, we kind of get, I think it's going pretty well. He stops, and he like looks me in the eye, he says, I'm not going to hire you if you don't promise me that you're going to finish your education. And I was like, okay, I'll finish my education. So I'm still in school. I still do. I'm at Mississippi State online. I don't have that many classes left, but we travel so much, during the fall and spring, that I don't take any classes during the fall. It's way too busy. I take some classes in the spring and classes in the summer. But that was my parents. Like, back to your original question, I had to promise them the same thing, because if I had said, Mom, I'm not finishing college, I'm going to work for Primos, she would have been. She wouldn't have been upset about Primos. She'd have been very upset about college. So yeah, it's been a long ordeal, but it's worth it.
What are you going to school for now?
So I was originally in school for wildlife fisheries, aquaculture science. Mississippi State has a distance degree learning program, or if I said that right, but basically they had never had anyone try to complete that program that had a wildlife major, and because wildlife's such a hands-on program, and so basically what they let me do is I still have my wildlife emphasis, but also have like a minor emphasis in communication, and then I should finish up this spring. Thank God, literally thank God, because that's been wearing on me a while doing all those classes and stuff. But it's been worth it. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my start.
Well, mine's a little bit shorter than Lake's is. The story. I was working in a steel mill in 2000. I guess it'd be the summer of 2012 or 11, somewhere right around there. I can't remember now, but I was working in a steel mill, and I just finished college. I went to school to be an electrician, and I was working in the steel mill in the maintenance crew, working about, 12 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week. And that got old really fast. So I started praying about what I wanted to do in life. I did not want to do that.
Working a steel mill, make you start doing that. Huh?
Yeah, working in a 150-degree steel mill every day, seeing sparks fly over your head and burning holes in your pants all the time makes you want to quit real fast.
Sounds fun.
Lord, is this really what you want for me?
Yeah, no doubt. But you know, I was on Facebook one night scrolling through, and I saw this ad on Giles Island. You know, it's an outfitting business in Natchez, Mississippi, on a 10,000-acre island. They're really known all around for big deer, and they were looking for guides. So I was like, this is me. I'm going to apply for it. I ended up getting the call for it, you know, coming down there and interview, whatever, and I showed up, and it's like 75 guys, and they're hiring 2. I'm like, well, might as well go on back to work tonight. This ain't good. But I ended up getting the call from Jimmy Riley, you know, come on down, decided to hire you. So I worked down there full time that fall and winter, you know, throughout deer season for 4 months, guide and hunt 7 days a week. And I loved every second of it. Even though I was working more hours than I were in the steel mill, I loved every second of it. From there, Mossy Oak ended up coming down there and filming some TV shows that fall. And I got to meet a few of their camera guys. Hunter McCool, one of them. Me and him are still great friends now. And he, I got his contact information, and I worried the snot out of him that summer. Hey, man, y'all got any openings? Let me know if y'all ever have opening. This is all me. I want to come work with y'all. And one night I was working at a car factory during that summer trying to pass time till that fall to go back to guide, because guiding's not a year-round job. And I got the call from Jimmy Riley. Hey, man, the guys at Mossy Oak are looking for a cameraman. You'd be interested in that. I was like, yeah, sure would. He's like, well, they want you to come up there tomorrow and interview. Okay. So I go up there and interview, and they decided to hire me that day. You know, I was starting the next Monday. This was on a Friday. And I called the car shop, whatever it was, down there, Nissan, and said, I'm not coming back. So I started Mossy Oak that following Monday. I worked there for 3 years, and I started dating a girl named Jessie when I was, I guess, the first year I was at Mossy Oak. And Jessie ended up living across the street from Lake. They grew up across from each other.
Yeah, that's a funny story all its own.
Yeah, she's got a lot of dirt on Lake.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
So me and Jessie, we ended up getting married 3 years ago now, but that's how I got kind of hooked up with Primos, is them living across the street from each other in a small world. So kind of weird how it all works out like this, right place, right time, and knowing the right people.
Yeah. So basically what you can take away from that is I got Jordan this job. So
it has nothing to do with my talents or ability. Nothing to do.
Okay. No, honestly, like I said about mine, is one of those just Lord's timing thing is what I call it. Like me and Jordan got to know each other. The first year I started working at Primos, like I said, I went straight from, left college. And so I didn't have a house. So I had to come back to my parents' house for a little while, and I was at home one weekend, and we were traveling a lot, and I saw Jessie, and she was like, hey, you need to meet my boyfriend. He works for Mossy Oak. And I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of cool. So I meet Jordan, and we kind of get to know each other. And 1 week, our boss at the office said, hey, we're going to be needing another camera guy. If you know anybody that would be good, let me know. And I'm just kind of thinking, because that for this job it would do.
I was not his first thought.
I was not. He was not. I called about 12 people. No, but it just honestly. So I hear that, and it was less than a week later. Jordan texted me and out of the blue and was like, "Hey, Jessie and I are kind of thinking about moving back towards, because both of them were back. Were from back towards that area rather than Mossy Oak's based out of West Point.
I grew up in Scott County, Mississippi, which is like 45 minutes to the east of Jackson.
Yeah.
So.
Is that where the steel mill was too?
Yeah, it was in.
I figured you must have been in like Pittsburgh.
No, making teeth for track hose.
Oh, all right.
But yeah, so it kind of worked out, and it's been good. You've been pretty much 2 years.
2 years.
2 years now.
2 years in August.
Yeah, it's worked out. Been
so
fun.
far.
Yeah, so far, yeah. Fingers crossed.
So I grew up, in Louisiana, but I hunt mostly Southwest Mississippi. Spent most of my life hunting there. Still hunt there today, and it's a lot of the areas. The Primos crew's been hunting over the years, and so I've always, grown up watching the Primos videos and watching Will on all these hunts, and you know, Will Primos is such a great role model for the outdoor industry, and as a hunter and as a conservationist, a land steward, you know,
he's just a good man all around.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've had the pleasure to meet him a couple of times and speak with him, but I got to ask, while we get going into this, what is it like for both of y'all to share a tree with Will Primos?
let me tell you about the first time I ever sat in a tree with Will Primos.
We can go 2 for 2 on this one. Yeah. You go first.
That sounds like a good question there.
I hadn't spent a whole lot of time around Will because I started like first part of August, and we left to go on elk hunts, you know, the first week of September. So I was in the office for like a week, and then I wasn't, just the way it planned out, I was only around him for like 5 days during elk season. And we get back to Cottonmouth, and Lake's like, he's all yours, buddy.
Just might as well throw him right into the
into the lion's den. Because, I mean, Wilbur, he likes it the way he likes it, you know, and he's going to figure out, he's going to push your buttons and figure out what's going to get on your nerves.
Well, the other thing too is, like, if you're with, like, I don't know, say like Brad, and he knows you're new, you know, Brad's going to be like, all right, well, you know, kind of, you know, we usually do this way, you do this way. Like, if you're hunting with Will your first time, like, you'll be getting your stuff together. You look up and Will's 200 yards away, and you better catch up because he's going. And you're like, oh, goodness.
Yeah. So we get up in the tree that afternoon. First time I'd ever spent more than, I spent maybe an hour around him since I started. So we get up in the tree, finna sit for 3 hours. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm finna hunt Will Primos. So we're sitting there and just shooting a bull and watching deer come by. It's kind of slow afternoon. We saw 3 or 4 deer, but right at dark, a big old deer. I mean, he's like 165-inch 10-point, comes walking right under us, and he just pops him at 8 yards. I'm like, okay.
Literally 8 yards.
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't hardly have the camera on him or anything. Wilbur didn't ask me. He just shot. I was like, okay, we just killed a deer. So that was my first hunt with Will Primos. We killed a 165-inch deer in a first afternoon I ever sat in a tree with him. It's pretty.
That's not half bad, yeah.
No. So that set the standard for all the rest of your hunts from then on out, right?
Downhill
so y'all kill
from
165-inch deer every time y'all hunt
we
together?
shoot at them,
Yeah. So the first time, I'd worked for Primos a full year, but at the time, Wilbur hunted at Rivers Run a lot that year. And just the way that it happened, I had been around Will a good bit. We'd spent, I'd been around him some during elk season. I'd spent a whole turkey season with him. So we knew each other, but we had yet to go deer hunting together ever. And same kind of deal. Like, where Will shows up and I'm just kind of like, hey, Will, I've never deer hunted with you, so I'm filming you today. He's like, all right, cool. Where are we going? And, we already, we had a spot, we go up there, and it was same kind of. It wasn't as early like Jordan's hunt he was talking about. That was legitimately the first afternoon we'd hunted Cottonmouth that season. But this was early season too, and we get in the tree and we get in there early, and it's kind of like it is hot, sun's still high up in the sky. We're probably not gonna see anything for a little while. We just got in there, early enough to, you don't want to be getting in there in prime time. So I'm not really expecting to see much of anything for a little while because it's hot, and see a doe, I'm like, oh, there's a deer, and I'm filming the doe, and kind of talking to Will. Will, oh, big buck, big buck, big buck, and I'm like, he's kidding. I look up, here comes this stud of an 8-point, just walking right to the white oak tree, and I'm like, excuse me, not white oak tree, water oak tree, right to the acorn tree. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! And he comes walking in, probably he was top 10, 20 yards, boom, thumps him. Runs about 50 yards, falls down. So the first time me and Jordan both got to hunt with Will, bucks were killed. It was pretty special.
First and last time he killed a deer with me.
So so now that we've heard that story, will both of y'all come film with me this year?
Both of us in a tree together.
Yeah. We charge a nominal
I think
fee.
it only works for Wilbur. I had to hunt with Jimmy
about 315-inch buck.
I had to hunt with Jimmy about 2 months before he ever killed a deer with me.
Yeah, that's Jimmy, though. That's a different criteria.
So I heard y'all, y'all mentioned Cottonmouth, obviously, and, for me and other people who watch the show, we know that that's the property y'all hunt on up in, kind of the Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas area where everything touches. And right. And I know that's a real special property, but why don't y'all tell everybody a little bit about it and how y'all kind of treat that place?
Yeah, so Cottonmouth is very special in the fact that it's got it legitimately has 3 states in that one property. So it gives us, the opportunity to hunt obviously 3 different states. And as far as like the hunting goes, it's pretty, it's all the same terrain and habitat kind of stuff, so that the tactics don't really differ. But it's a very special place. Anywhere along the Mississippi River is very special as far as just hunting goes.
If you ever get in that river bottom, you're spoiled so fast, and it's nothing like it.
What I've always tell people, if you grow up hunting in Mississippi like I did, if you don't get to hunt in the Mississippi River, you dream about it, because that's all you hear about, and it holds true. I mean, it's paradise for a deer hunter, not just a deer hunter, but a waterfowl hunter. It's a very special place.
It's even the best squirrel hunting.
Yeah.
I have to agree a little bit. I hunt in that region too, and we're more in the hills a little bit, but we still have a little benefit off of that.
Yeah, I mean, down there where you hunt at, though, there's some big deer in them hills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, that's some fine hunting in them hills. But,
Kyle told me he's hiding some trail camera pictures.
I'm not at liberty to say.
That's what you have to do. That's what you got to do sometimes.
One of the things that works best for us, having those 3 states on that property, is having the opportunity to kill multiple bucks in each state too. Because doing what we do with TV, we have to make so many episodes a year. So if you can do it all on one property like Cottonmouth, it makes our lifestyle as far as traveling a whole lot simpler.
Yeah, that is true. That's very true. It's very.
We can kill enough deer between that and Togo Island with Brad hunts to make all of our episodes during the year's time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's key for us. That's one of the biggest draws for me when I moved to Primos was come October, I'm in one spot all winter instead of going to 15 different states, because that gets old fast.
And one thing to highlight, it is, we're able to kill enough deer, but we're able to do it responsibly. Like all the, they're all have to be under different programs, because Mississippi has like DMAP. But every state has their own program. But every state is, very well managed, and we try to kill the right deer, obviously. And
we're enrolled in deer management assistance programs in every different state, so it's all different criteria we go by in every state. It gets confusing.
Yeah, that is definitely one thing that gets confusing. We have like a, next to the map, we have like these printout pieces of paper that, like what seasons of what state go and when, because there's and then there's like the different laws for hunter's orange.
Yeah.
Like in Mississippi or in Arkansas, if it's gun season, you got to have an orange vest and an orange hat on.
And gun season doesn't open up for a month in Mississippi. So
right.
People are like, why they got orange on this October? Well, it's youth muzzleloader season in Arkansas now.
Yeah, think about that time. Yeah, when I shot that.
Lake killed a deer last year, like third week of October, and he's wearing orange.
Yeah, I had orange hat, and orange vest on, and it looks funny, especially because like what is he doing? But it was the youth, youth firearm, something like that.
That's
so you had to wear it.
Too, our jawbone baskets, we got 3 different jawbone baskets too.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you put them in the right one.
LAARMS. It's a lot to keep up with, but for a place like that, it's well worth it.
Do y'all rotate like seasonally how y'all are hunting the different places, like in certain points of the year, or y'all just spreading out the pressure best you can across the whole season?
We go where the deer are.
Yeah, it's pretty dependent on the activity of the deer.
A lot of times, our Arkansas portion of the Cottonmouth, it'll have more deer earlier because we've got bean fields around it. So a lot of times they're stacked up in there pretty good. But they're pretty everywhere.
There's oftentimes too, like there have been instances. One thing, everything has its pros and cons, and the river, as good as it can be to a deer hunter, it can be mean to them too when you have that high river. And the way that property lays, where the Arkansas portion is higher, or a lot of it is. And so if you have I can't remember, I think it was 2 summers ago, we had a really high river, and so it knocked down all the browse pretty much. And also like in Arkansas, it had like the only thickets on it. So that early season, there was so many deer held in the Arkansas portion because that's where all your thickets were. The rest of it, the water had held for so long, it was funny looking, because you look through the woods and you could see, it looked like winter almost. You could see 300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's hunting on the river.
The water's got a lot to do where we hunt too. Especially come like December when the river starts coming up and changing the way the deer move and go, and that's a lot to look into as far as where to hunt on that place, because you do have a lot of diversity even though it is river bottom.
So y'all have some crops on the area. I'm sure they grow beans and all kinds
Right.
of stuff on the river.
They grow commercial beans. You know, they harvest them. So there's nothing
Right.
left as far as beans
Little
come
bit of spillage.
October. Yeah. But mostly what our deer are foraging on is natural vegetation. I mean, they're eating beans during sometime when we can get a bean crop in, because we didn't get any beans in last year. The river took them. So we got beans this year unless the river comes up next 6 weeks. But it ain't looking like it is, but you never know. And the natural vegetation on that place is, I mean, in the river bottoms, even if on creek bottom on your own place, the natural veg is going to be better than your stuff on the hills, you know, most time. But that's just kind of what we look at and helps the deer grow.
How many acres is that entire place?
It's somewhere between 9,500 and 10,000, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water to take a lot of that, though.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how much dirt.
How much huntable land? Yeah.
Yeah.
So who manages that? How does that work? Is that like all on y'all, or you have a whole team of people, or?
Yeah, we do most of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the guy out there that does all the commercial farming and stuff, but pretty much the deer management's all us.
Do you have any idea like what percentage of that is like cropland? I mean, I guess you
I
got
don't have a clue.
a lot of
It's-
water and a lot of
It's
crop.
probably, if I had to guess, this is just a blind guess, it's 25% crop, I
Yeah.
would guess.
But still, 10,000 acres is like 5 square miles, I think.
Yeah, it's big.
That's a lot of property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know,
That's
it's a couple thousand acres of water included in that, too.
So we're here, obviously, at QDMA National Convention, New Orleans, and we've been listening to people talk about habitat all day. So, you know, what kind of habitat stuff are y'all doing on this place? I know it's really, really large, so you have to be real specific about what you do, I'm sure, as far as habitat manipulation. Are y'all working on, native forage? Are y'all fertilizing native forage? I'm sure you're...
Oh, well, I mean, that's the one blessing about the Mississippi. It gets naturally fertilized every year. Right. You know, the river silt comes in, water comes up, brings in nutrients from up north and whatnot, and you really don't have to do much to grow. That's one good lucky thing. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to grow anything on that river river dirt.
That soil down there,
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like summertime, they just put in beans, and we put out mineral sites. I mean, as far as fertilizing natural veg or anything like that, it gets naturally done, so it's a waste of money doing it yourself.
Probably the biggest thing we've done here lately as far as habitat manipulation be the food plots.
Yeah, for fall forage, yeah, absolutely.
It's
So I see y'all putting in a lot of food plots. Do you have any idea how many acres of food plots you got on the Cottonmouth?
This year, we planted close to 140 acres of green last year. This year, we're putting 198 in.
And that's in addition to what the farmer's putting in for crop.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of that comes out.
Yeah,
though,
all the crop comes out
Yeah,
for
for
harvest.
hunting season.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
So, like I was saying earlier, I grew up in a hunting family, right? You know, everyone, I'm sure like y'all, we all plant our family food plots and that kind of deal, whatever. And so, I mean, I knew a little bit about planting food plots. Like Jordan, when you talk about planting food plots, Jordan's like a kid on Christmas morning.
That's what I like.
That's
doing.
and so I've learned. I mean, I'm not even close to the word expert. Like I don't even know what I would be. I'm like in the beginning stages, but I've learned a ton just from being with Jordan because that's his jam, man. Like he loves that stuff, and so.
Like we got to be careful because Jordan and Kyle are about to have their own 4-hour podcast here just talking about.
I'm telling you,
stay on topic here.
Yeah,
just for you guys.
I like getting salad for the deer.
Yeah. Well, man, because we drastically last year was the first time that we'd put. We got that new line of seed coming out, the Primos takeout seed.
Yeah, it's out
And,
on the shelves now. So
And the change that we saw in the amount of food tonnage that we were able to give to those deer, like it was such a huge change in our hunting and the amount of deer that we were able to see, and honestly the amount of pressure we were able to take off hunting wise, because it made our hunting better so many different ways. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think we gotta at least hit a little bit into your knowledge. So this summertime now, I guess maybe you can give us a little bit of advice just for across the South in general for bow hunters that want to be, I guess, have something to hunt over pretty early on, what kind of tips can you give us for
food plot wise?
Let's just go ahead and assume, which is probably not true, but we'll assume people have gotten a soil sample at least and know what they need to amend their soil. So let's say we're starting with something decent.
Man, I do it redneck way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever taken more than 4 or 5 soil samples in my life. I just guessed.
Well, I think we just talked about how you got the Mississippi River dropping off Iowa soil off to you. So
as far as I grew up hunting pine rows, and I grew up hunting ryegrass fields. We didn't know anything about planting oats or wheat or any kind of rape or whatever. And one of the things you can do to really just help yourself is watch the weather. Get your soil ready. Be ready to plant it. Give yourself a 10 or 14 day window there, 1st of September, if you're wanting something to bow hunt over.
Yeah.
First week of September, 10 days from August 25th to September 10th, somewhere in there. Watch for that rain, but have everything ready at the spur of the moment you can go plant with. And go plant whatever you want to, as far as, wheat, oats, some kind of mix. It's got brassicas in it. I have found that early season in the South, deer love daikon radishes. They plant them up north for like a late season deal, but in the South, daikons, that first week of October, after the daikon's been in the ground for 6 weeks and they're up 5 or 6 inches, deer demolish them.
I can't even keep them alive in my place. They're gone.
Yeah. Daikon radishes is a candy to a deer in the South early season.
Yeah. Is that one of those though where they gotta try it for a year or two maybe before it really catches on?
No, we put them there. That's the first
That's
time.
The turnips, I guess, then, right?
It's a radish. I mean, you can put them in a salad and eat them.
Right.
Well, that's
turnips are the ones sometimes takes them a while.
That was the first time that I know. I mean, since I've been there, I know we hadn't had daikon radishes there, and we planted them and they smoked them.
Yeah, we were testing some different seed blends out last year and put some daikon and stuff out, and it was
to Jordan's point, like what he was saying. We knew we were going to have planting coming up. We knew it was going to be a certain day, but I don't even remember what I was doing. Jordan was at the beach with his family and stuff, or like with Jesse's family, I think it was. And I get a call. He's like, "Hey, we got to get to Cottonmouth tomorrow. We got to plant." I'm like, "Huh? Why?" And he's like, "Rain's coming." I pulled it up.
We drove home from Orange Beach. I got in the truck and we drove to Cottonmouth, and we was on the Ranger planting by that night.
We were planting. We planted into like 11 o'clock that night. We were planting. We rushed, got up real early the next morning, planting one more food plot, and then I don't know if we ever, Lord willing, will time on that right again.
It started raining as soon as we got off the Ranger.
As soon as we pulled up, the here comes the floods.
How soon after? Let's say you can only plant on the weekend, and it's supposed to rain on like a Wednesday. Well, is that still decent?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you for sure think the main thing is if you get your fertilizer. I like to plant. I like to put fertilizer when I plant.
Okay.
Like some people like to fertilize after they plant, after their greens get up a little bit, but I like to put the fertilizer in the soil when I plant. So if that fertilizer sits on top of soil for, I don't know what the scientific days are, but like say 20 days without rain, it I don't know what the word for it. It kind of dissolves or dissipates. It doesn't get as potent as it was when you first put it in the ground. So if you can get a rain on it within 10 days or so, you should be fine as far as getting the maximum amount of your dollar put into that seed and fertilize.
Okay.
But fertilize is the most important part of planting anything. If it doesn't have the nutrition there to grow them greens, it's not going to do good.
Fertilize and soil prep.
On average, guys in the hills planting no red clay or whatever, 250 pounds to 300 pounds of triple 13 is a good guess to put out.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
And then no-till's real big right now. Do you guys do any of that, or you guys?
I've never done it. Every time I've ever been around a drill, I tend to tear it up. So I hadn't messed with it a whole lot.
So, y'all are hunting a lot of native vegetation. I've seen y'all are real big on persimmon trees.
Yeah.
Looks like y'all got a lot of them at Cottonmouth. So y'all, since you've hunted there for a few years, I'm sure y'all have it pegged down on where a lot of them are. But
right.
Are y'all go out in the summertime and scout for some of these trees?
Yeah, it depends. Like, again, going back to the water, like there's some years, like one of the years we had high water, we went and looked around. I can't remember how early it was, but we're like, well, we better start figuring something else out because like a couple of our, there's some trees that like, that you have some that produce and then you have some that produce as far as, and some that the deer seem to favor for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And
I can think about like 3 right now that is going to have persimmons on them this year, but all the rest of them you gotta go check.
Yeah, like Pawpaw's gonna have it every time. There's a spot right on the riverbanks. It's one of my favorite spots to hunt, and not even. I mean, it's a good spot, but it's like right on the river, and it's just pretty. I mean, it's a beautiful place to hunt. And Brad and I hunted there so many times just because we both liked the spot. It was good access. You know, a lot of deer came to it, and we came there and checked it, and the water got up so high, put so much stress on that tree, it didn't produce that year. So yeah, we definitely, have to go and check them. But
we're actually heading over there Tuesday and go
Yeah.
do all that,
yeah.
refreshing the mineral sites and putting out cameras for the first time this year, and gonna ride around and see what we see.
There you go. So what about honey locusts? Y'all got any of those on that place?
Yeah, not as many as we do persimmons, but we've got them.
Yeah, it's not a huge key food source. We don't key in on it over there. Just it's a lot of black locusts, and I can't tell the difference between the black locusts and honey locusts. I can tell if they don't eat the beans come December if they like it or not.
Man, where
That must
I'm
be
at,
a black locust tree over there.
we got I won't say we got a lot of them, but we've got a select few, and man, the deer hammer them where I am. And if I tell people in any other part of the country, like even just Arkansas, even that far north, they look at me like I'm crazy. But man, the deer will run over people to get to a honey locust tree. That's dry.
Well, that's like
I've seen them do it. I just hadn't.
Yeah.
We don't have them that many there.
There's just not that many to speak of. But that's acorn trees kind of have that effect down there because there's again, river bottoms. You don't have that many acorn trees, and where you find a good tree that's dropping acorns, the deer are going to be there. I can't think of how many deer we've killed over water oak trees.
Yeah, it's not but like 10 oak trees on the whole place.
Yeah, it's got to be species that can survive the flooding.
Right.
There's not too many of them. Y'all have some nuttalls or
We got nuttalls,
Swamp
we got
chestnut.
water oaks.
Nuttalls,
No
water
swamp
oak.
chestnut.
If you
floods too much for swamp
I
chestnut.
wish we had a swamp chestnut tree.
We got lots and lots of them on my place.
If I found a swamp chestnut tree, I wouldn't tell anyone about it. Maybe George.
If
we
you
call
got a
them-
swamp
we
chestnut
call-
tree, you can kill a buck every year between October 15th and October 25th.
I agree with you. Yeah, we've got some on our place that 3 of us couldn't put our arms around.
Ooh.
Yeah,
It's wild.
you're fortunate.
That's the one that you got too many of them, though. How do you pick one? I guess just based on your history.
Yeah, I mean, just put check them out, see who's heavy when.
Yeah.
They don't all produce the same every year. They white oak cycle.
It's crazy. I mean, like you said, pick out the favorites or whatever. I had a swamp chestnut bottom I grew up hunting in, and there was 4 or 5 trees in there that deer preferred over the other 100 of them. For some reason, every year you kill a buck under this one specific tree, and it's in a 100-acre bottom. So it's kind of weird how deer pick that out.
For those who don't know, swamp chestnut oak is a type of white oak that makes an acorn real big, about the size of a ping pong ball.
Yeah,
I mean, they're pretty large. A lot of people call them a cow oak in the South.
They're
so.
candy for deer.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like how many pecan trees are on Cottonmouth?
400 million.
400,000 million thousand. Yeah, and that's like is talking about tactics. You can tell. It's funny. When we get there and we start hunting early season, just like Jordan said, they're usually hitting those early plots that we put in hard. But then when when the pecans start falling, you can tell. Because it's like you'll still see deer on those food plots, but you can tell, you're like, okay, what's there? And you'll start walking. There's so many pecan trees on that place, and there's so many pecans. They just don't hit them as hard because there's another food source available. So it changes things.
Yeah, starting about the 3rd week of October till about the 2nd week of November, it's about as dead of hunting as you can ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You would think there's not a deer around. It's tough. It's tough first 2 weeks of November.
Very makes you want to
Complete
go to the
opposite of what
Midwest.
people are doing in Illinois and Iowa. They're like, oh yeah, it's first 2 weeks of November.
Yeah, during November, Midwest is go time. Down here in November, we're like, ugh,
Let's go fishing.
the lull. Yeah,
Yeah, I usually hightail and go hunt Missouri or Iowa or somewhere
that's
like
the
that.
right way to be.
Get some good weather.
Well, we got lucky last year and killed some deer in November just because the food plots were so good.
Yeah.
And y'all are, I don't know exactly, but where I'm at, not too far away, our rut peaks between Christmas and New Year's. So we got a late rut. What's it like
It's
up there?
the same.
It's about the same.
Probably close.
Maybe a week earlier.
Yeah.
Sometimes depending on the year, but about the same.
About the 18th to about the 26th is probably the peak. When you're seeing the most chasing, which we don't see a ton of chasing anyways, just because I don't know why. they just don't chase that good on that place for whatever reason. But like when I was working at Giles, I mean, gosh, you'd see 3 or 4 bucks pound one doe, and we'll see some chasing at Cottonmouth too, but it's not defined as I've seen it
Not
other
as
places.
heavy,
I don't know if it's got something to do with the deer density, is so many deer. I don't know. It's weird.
It's kind of like us. We don't see a lot of real intense rut
Mhm.
activity. It's kind of hit or
Yeah.
miss. If you're in
Yeah.
the right spot, you're going to see it good, but you might go 2 or 3 days and not see
Yeah.
anything.
Now,
It really
I tell you what
seems
you
like-
can do that time of year is they're, well, compared to hunting in the pine roads and stuff where they're from, they're they're very callable, you know, but more so than what I was ever
Mhm.
exposed to, you know, central Mississippi where I was from. They're very, very, very callable, which is fun. You know,
I
that's
don't think
always
it's
fun.
a place, you know, in the South that you see that defined rut like you do in the Midwest. It's not crazy. I mean, I've hunted Illinois before the first week of November, and you'll see bucks all day cruising and looking. I've never personally witnessed that in the South. I don't know what the difference is.
If you hit a really good weather event, like
Yeah.
I mean a real severe cold snap,
Mhm.
I've had some real good success during the middle of the day, but same boat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not very often.
You may have that
It's-
one day out of
right.
the season that
Right.
you'll see
and
that.
that may only come every couple of years, you know, the right
Mhm.
day. But
Well, I don't know how much this ties in, but what's y'all's doe harvest look like? Do you have like a certain number of does you try to take every year, or do you
Yeah.
have a lot of does?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have that biologists and stuff come in, and they'll set a quota number for us, and we'll try to meet it.
Yeah.
We got doe tags and all that stuff. So
Is it like one of those deals where you're like, you got a bunch of tags left at the end of the season, everybody goes out with rifles and tries to get them all? Or?
Not so much.
We
no.
try to stay on top of it. Yeah. We usually do a pretty good job of that. Take a lot during the early season, you know, because you don't want to be trying to shoot a bunch of does during December when it's rut time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people worry about, okay, should I take my does before the rut or after? Because they want does for the rut, but they don't want too many does for the rut.
I mean, it's so many does. I don't think we could ever get it to where it should be, because I mean, just the way it is, there's so many
Yeah.
deer, and we just try to kill as many does we kill bucks right now, and keep it at that.
Yeah.
Probably
but-
kill a few more does when we do bucks.
Yeah.
But and you're saying you could take eight bucks a piece?
Yeah,
Yeah.
legally between Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas, you can kill 8 bucks legally. You know,
Right.
I don't think any of us killed that many.
Well, I'm sure you're choosy about your bucks, so it's not like
Yeah.
just go
but
and shoot
it's
deer.
it's a numbers things too. Yeah. So because you can kill it's 2 in Arkansas, 3 in Mississippi, 3 in Louisiana.
Mhm.
So yeah, 8. But yeah, like I said, I don't think anyone's ever killed the full 8.
Jimmy's the only one I know that I don't know if he's done it.
I don't think so. As in, we
Right.
get we get our numbers right as far as the management goes, and then that always falls within what we need for shows. So
Yeah, if everybody killed their limit of deer on that place, we'd have so many deer nobody'd ever get to see them and
Yeah.
enjoy them with
Yeah.
us on camera.
Yeah.
yeah.
How does that? Do you guys basically kill off of like a hit list or something like that, or do you know most of the deer you're
If-
shooting? Or
No, a lot of times.
Yeah, that's-
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But mostly, if he's a 4-year-old 8-point or 9-point, we'll take him if he looks good, you know. Or if he looks bad, even more, we'll take him if he's
Yeah.
4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
But if he's a 10-point, we try to let him go till they're 5.
okay,
Yeah. We have hit list, like I said, and we have killed deer that we've known were there before, but I don't know how many times we see a buck come out and we're like, where in the world did he come from?
Mhm.
It's just, and I think that's just a river bottom thing.
Yeah,
It
you
just-
have those certain deer that hang around the same spot all the time. Then you have walkers that travel miles up and down the river, and they just show up one
Yeah.
day, you know.
There's one deer, we called him Forky for the longest time. I know that's a real original name, right? Forky. But he was probably, like, we had him since the first year that I was there. And then season 4 last was the last time we saw him. And we'd always get pictures of him in the southern part of our property that we call Africa. We'd get pictures of him in the early season. At night, we had one daytime picture of all those years, had one daytime picture. The rest of them were nighttime pictures. And we always get pictures of him in October, then he'd disappear. Next season come back, he'd be there in October. We never could kill him. Don't
You're
know what
talking about a 6 or 7-year-old deer that scores 170.
Yeah, he was in the
He's big.
70s. It's just like we don't know where he went. Don't know. Who knows? No one's killed him that we know of on the neighboring properties, but who knows?
some of those ones just die of old age.
Could have.
Yeah.
Could have.
Hopefully not. Maybe he's out there.
I hope so.
It's crazy as many deer has been killed off that place, you know, for so long, and we still kill deer 8, 9, 10 years old every year.
Yeah, no, great. I'm sure you guys probably find some sheds and stuff once in a while. Got no idea.
You hardly ever find any shit.
Oh, we are in the South.
Unless you got scuba gear.
Do you guys do any burning?
No
Maybe,
burning.
Yeah.
Seem to be that's from what I've heard. That's one of the only ways you're going to find them in the South is you can walk through a fresh burn.
It's a unique place for shed hunting. It's usually underwater that time of year.
Yeah,
most of the people outside the levees have the deer shedding on their place.
If you find one, you're like, oh man, a shed.
Usually it's buried in the mud. All you see is some tine sticking out or something.
Yeah, last time I found a shed, that's how it happened. We were walking back from hanging a stand, and I tripped over something. And there was a brow tine stuck out from under something. I was like, oh, look at that. But
Shoot, even me in the hills, like we hardly ever find them. I mean, we might find a couple drop in a green field, but hardly ever do we find sheds. And they got a shed somewhere. I'm convinced they all get their sheds together and bury them somewhere.
I think our squirrels are just more proactive than they are anywhere else.
I think there might be something to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're out there eating full sheds in a couple days, but yeah, they sure disappear.
Well, like we said, they don't have a lot of acorn trees, so they got to have something to eat.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just very eager.
Well, I'm excited to talk some tactics, but I do want to give you a last shot, Kyle. If you got any parting habitat questions.
No, I guess I won't bore everybody.
We can talk about
anymore.
actual hunting instead of just trying to farm.
Yeah, let's talk hunting.
So, I didn't really plan on talking about it this way, but it's real interesting to me. So you mentioned working with Bill Winke.
Yep.
And then you talked about working with Aaron.
Yep.
And the hunting public guys, they just kind of started their own thing.
Yeah.
And those two tactics are very different.
Uh-huh.
So I'm interested to hear. I want to hear how you guys do it, but I'd love to hear how you compare it to what those two guys are doing since they're so different.
To like Aaron and Bill?
Yeah. And I'm not looking for you to pick what's better. I just want to hear what you do.
They're very I'm gonna have to go back into the index here because I've been. I actually say I didn't get to hunt with Bill when I was there, but we were. I always filmed Aaron or Greg or some of the other guys, but it's definitely different. It's way, way different strategies like you're talking about. And it's not, you can't really say one's better or one's right and one's wrong because they both work,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, it's just personal preference and what works for them and what doesn't. One thing obviously very different is, Bill has his farm that, that's his farm. That's where he hunts on his farm, where Aaron is all over the place. 1 week he's hunting this public land, then he's hunting this public land, this public land. So he's having to constantly find new spots, where Bill is more focused on, he knows his farm so well, knows what those deer do, because we all know we're all deer hunters and they're creatures of habit, they're patternable. So, Bill's a lot, and, obviously, the year I was there is the year he killed that double G4 buck, that 204-inch deer.
A freak.
Food plot,
Yeah.
Where Aaron's hunting, he doesn't have food plots. Closest thing he has is maybe ag fields,
Well, I know Bill's big on, he'll hunt the edge, and he'll hunt the same 4 stands with the right wind, but he'll hunt the same 4 stands over and over again, just waiting for the deer to mess up because he knows the deer's not going anywhere.
He's big on that, and that's something I can't. It's funny you should say that because I wouldn't have thought of that. Bill, like you said, he has his stands that he knows that he just, swears will work, and, who can fault him? They work.
Yeah.
Whereas Aaron is big, Aaron will find spots that, he has, especially where he hunts now, in where they live in Southeast Iowa and stuff, he'll have areas that he knows work, but you're not going to find Aaron, hunt one spot over and over and over again.
Well, it doesn't help that they show their best spots on.
Yeah, that too. But that's it's kind of so Aaron will find a spot, and if the conditions are right for it, he'll go 1 or 2 times, and then boom, on to the next spot.
Yeah,
he's big on first or second time in. He doesn't like contaminating a spot. That he's really, really big on that. Whereas Bill, but at the same time, Bill's he's hunting the same spot over and over again, but he's super particular about his access, how he gets in there, the wind right. So they're obviously very, very differing strategy, but they both work. I think it just depends on the hunter. If the guy's hunting public land a lot, or he has a bunch of different spots that he goes to, then, he's probably going to hunt, fault more on how Aaron hunts. But if a guy hunts one piece continuously, then you'd probably want to lean towards how Bill hunt, because again, they both are very successful in what they do.
And I guess you could say, I mean, for Bill, he's limited. He's hunting just on his farm. So
Right. Yeah.
if he dives into the best spots in the first week,
Yeah. That's the other thing too, and you see a lot of guys do this in that hunt the Midwest that have their own farms. They won't start hunting until like October 31st. They'll leave their spots lay until the rut starts.
Yeah. So we got some crazy QDMA stuff going on in the back.
Sound like they have an auction.
It's the warm up, I think, for the auction. Which maybe they're doing tryouts over there.
I'd have to warm up too if I talk that fast.
Gotta get the gears turning.
Maybe nobody's hearing this with my new fancy mics from Amazon.
We can only hope.
Yeah. Otherwise, everybody just deal with it. Everybody, I guess. Sorry.
So, on tactics, I got a question. We talked a little bit about early season, like what y'all are targeting on, but like rut tactics.
Yeah.
What are y'all trying to do on the Cottonmouth property?
Man, you get where the does are.
Yeah. That's pretty, yeah.
Trail cameras last year were on rut, like finding where the deer were using it during the rut, were so big we started using time-lapse mode on our cameras.
Yeah.
Put them on food plots, and you could see which plot was having the most activity rather than having a deer walk in front of your camera. You could see the whole plot.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal that helped us last year as far as finding the deer during the rut to hunt.
That's how Brad killed that big 10 point in Africa.
Yep.
No one had hunted that spot. Right? I don't think anyone had hunted there.
End of November, deer starting to, on the river, they're starting to think about it. The last 2 or 3 days of November.
Yeah.
About December 5th, you'll really start seeing a chase every once in a while.
And we went out there and pulled it, and Jordan actually checked the camera. I think I was eating lunch or something. He's like, dude, look at this. And pulls it, turns into a little video file, and there's that little Africa food plot, and like all of a sudden, there's a bunch of deer, and then you could see there's a buck back there just dogging a doe.
Yeah, because it takes a picture like every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So you can see a 5-acre field, but you can see all the deer moving every 30 seconds.
And so cool. That was a funny story. We go in there with Brad, actually see that deer as a 5-year-old 10 point, probably, I don't know how big he was, 145,
145 to 150.
Yeah.
Big deer.
And then tried to kill him that day, but my camera malfunctioned on me. Ooh. That's in an upcoming episode. I mean, like
spoiler alert.
Deer's coming in, and like all of a sudden my camera like kind of flickers, and then record shuts off, and I'm like, and I hit record again, and then it starts recording again, then it does all. I mean, it started doing stuff I'd never seen it do before. Like, and we couldn't shoot it. Brad was very happy with me. He was so happy with me. But so we waited. The next day the wind wasn't right, so we didn't go in. And then we went there. It was 3 days later, something like that. And he came back chasing a doe again. I mean, he was, he wasn't like hard chasing, but he was like nosing her around full. I mean, that's what he was doing.
So y'all are hunting food sources and probably thickets, just wherever the does congregate. But y'all aren't hunting a whole lot of topography or anything, because there isn't a whole lot of topography.
There's you have to look at topography on the river bottoms a whole lot different than you would on the ridges.
By inches.
Yeah.
By inches of elevation and by thicket lines. You use that as your topography.
Right. Thicket
line can be your draw.
Okay.
Instead of a draw being a draw, you got a thicket line. That's where your deer are going to go up and down.
Like, again, I can remember when I first moved up there to Iowa for the Midwest thing, they were like, we're going to go up there and hang a stand on this ridge. And I'm like, that's a mountain.
Yeah.
That's not a ridge.
Yeah.
Like, what is it like, because, again, especially on the river, a ridge is like a couple inches in elevation change sometimes, but the deer use it.
But like you said, there's usually some vegetative differences there.
You got a lot of privet bushes that grow in, for whatever reason, they grow in lines. I guess it's what type of soil's right there, some kind of elevation change or something. But you got them thicket lines. We got one that runs for 2 miles, seems like.
Yeah.
And you can kill a deer all the way from one end of it to the other of it.
There's a privet line that runs, the one between runs into Coyote.
Well, it runs all the way out to the big bean field and runs to the very north end of the property.
You get in that. We have a stand in there, and we call it's in a bodock tree, so we call it bodock. But Brad killed one of his biggest deer that he's killed at Cottonmouth in that stand, because talking about rut stands, it's on that privet line. Deer travel it constantly, especially, bucks will be cruising it during the rut looking for does, and knowing that they'll be going to that food plot, and there's some bedding in there too, and you'll catch them all the time, just see them walking that line.
It pretty much runs north and south too, so you get any kind of east or west in your wind, your deer can smell anything pretty much upwind of them walking that line.
So we got off track a little bit talking about Bill and Aaron there.
Yeah.
So how do you guys hunt more? Do you hop around quite a bit, or do you have a lot of set stands on food plots? Is most of your effort setting stands ahead of time and moving to those?
We have a ton of sets on food plots just because we're filming.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot more work to put up one stand. I mean, put up two stands, rather than just moving one around.
And it's not just one shooting lane. You need to be able to film everything.
Right. And we will, we honestly, we lean a lot more towards set stands, but,
we'll move and hunt the same day.
Jordan and I, especially we'll get climbers and go because it's fun to do.
It just, we put a lot of emphasis on camera usage, and that's how we scout a lot. And we pull them cameras at least once a week and see what's going on in places and figure out where the deer are. We move cameras. The deer are constantly moving. You think you got a place that big and you got a 8-acre food plot somewhere that you can go there at any point and see deer all the time. But them deer, they migrate on that 10,000 acres. Like early in the year, they're one place. It gets cold. They'll move a mile south of there, same deer. And then you got deer that stay in the same spot all year. It just depends on where the deer are at the time.
There was a deer that we saw in the first week of the season it was in a bean field, a cut bean field. I saw him. And then I can't remember when, I think it was December, saw him in the most southernmost part of our property. And then
Which
Jimmy.
is 4 miles apart.
Yeah. And then Jimmy ended up killing him back at the north end of our property in January. So, they'll move.
But answer your question about as far as set stands or how we like to hunt. Most of it's set, but we do have a lot of floating stands we can move at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So is that mostly like evening hunts? You'd be right on the edge of a food plot, and basically you're picking your spot based on. If you're talking 80 acres, just because he comes out in the plot doesn't mean you get to shoot him.
Right.
Yeah, but one of the things we started doing last year was just hunting afternoons, unless it was the rut. We didn't hunt not one single morning in the month of October, and I think we hunted one morning in November. And by doing that, we took so much pressure off of our deer herd, not going through the woods in the dark, not going to blowing them out of any particular spot in the morning while they're still feeding, and getting in there while they're bedded up in the afternoon, hunting them coming back. We didn't hunt as much last year. We were way more productive as far as the kill ratio.
Yeah, the amount of deer that we would see and the times that we would see them was crazy.
We would start seeing deer last year at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah. We were killing mature bucks at 3.
Yeah, versus the year before, going from normally any place you hunt, deer come out 30 minutes before dark.
Yeah.
And you said this year you got like 194 acres of food plots, 198 acres. So how many different food plots is like a lot of kill plot? Because if you got an 80-acre plot, then that takes up a big hunk of that. But do you have a lot of kill plots too?
We're expanding a lot of our kill plots, making them about a half acre bigger is what it boils down to. And then we're putting in one more plot that's 21 acres this year, which is in the middle of about 5,000 acre block of timber.
Okay.
So what the key is to doing this is we're trying to make our morning hunting better and trying to get these deer to come to this destination field at night and hunting them coming back in the mornings. Trying to make it like you do out west with alfalfa field.
Yeah.
Hunting the edges of it in the mornings, trying to catch them coming off of it.
Do you typically have an idea where they're bedding, or is it just kind of anywhere? Yeah.
You don't have a clue.
No
clue.
Good luck.
So you're just getting off the plot a little bit and hopefully catching them coming between the plot and wherever they happen to be going.
They'll travel those ditches and little bitty ridges and stuff coming off these plots, and they'll travel them bush hog roads we cut for travel.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Those timber hunts are always fun.
So y'all are, both of y'all are camera guys. Y'all are filming for Will and Brad and the other guys at Primos, and y'all are obviously running around moving stands and pulling cameras and doing all the fun jobs. How often do y'all get to hunt yourselves? How often do y'all get to pull the trigger?
I killed 2 deer on camera last year, I think.
I killed 2. I killed 2 bucks last year. You killed 3.
I killed 3 deer.
I think so.
I didn't kill 3. I killed 3 bucks last year on 2 of them on camera.
So you have to you have to beg and please for time off to go do it, or
no?
You wait till the other guys aren't in camp, or how?
Some of the funnest stuff I've done is just go doe hunting on the weekends. I love going to do that. just slinging arrows at those. It's fun.
Of course, we did have like a old versus the new kind of thing, just the way it boiled out. So, I mean, it just kind of it varies. You know, we don't really have a set. This person's gonna hunt this time. This person's gonna hunt then. It just kind of.
It pretty much just rotate. When Will and Jimmy aren't there, Brad and Troy and Lake and I rotate a lot. Troy and Brad hunt a lot just because they've been there so long, you know. And when they call us up off the bench, we're very eager to get up there.
Yeah. Lake, you want to hunt? Yep. Yeah.
That's the cool thing about working at Primos. I have yet to run into, you know, an ego problem with anybody as far as I'm in front of the camera all the time. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about it.
I think like I shot, I don't know what it was, but I think, you know, I know for a fact, just think like when I was lucky enough to shoot an elk last year, and I can legitimately say Will was happier about it than I was, or about the elk that he shot.
That's cool.
That's just how they are. They're just, you know.
Will, it's funny because, you know, you think about him being a big master hunter and everything and killing all this stuff, and he would rather call up a turkey or call up an elk for somebody than he would pull the trigger any day of the week.
Legitimately, like
yeah.
I've been with him enough on both. He's more excited when someone else does it.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
It's just how he is.
That comes with a lot of time and real deep love for the outdoors, you know.
He just enjoys being in the woods.
You got to be a good guy too.
Oh yeah, always a good guy.
Well, I mean, I feel like we could talk like this forever, but we probably got to wrap it up. So, but I do want to give you a chance. Maybe tell us where we can find all your stuff across the different outlets.
Yeah.
I know you guys got a podcast and YouTube and TV.
We got all kinds of sort of stuff.
Man,
Anybody that wants to.
Running every which way. If you want to listen to us, you want to watch us, you want to, there's all kinds of options. So we got the TV show, obviously, on Outdoor Channel. Primos Truth About Hunting airs Sundays at 9:30 Eastern and Tuesdays at 7 o'clock Eastern. And then there's some other show times in there, but those are the.
I can't ever remember when
those
the show
are always
comes on because I always watch it at the
Sundays
office.
9:30 Eastern, Tuesdays at 7 Eastern.
Just everybody set their DVRs.
Yeah.
Look for Primos on your DVR.
And then we have we got the Instagram page, the Facebook page, and then we have
just Primos Hunting or what's
Primos Hunting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then we have the Speak the Language podcast. That's about a year old now that we've been doing. Had a lot of fun with that. And then we have probably the most exciting thing, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that.
We're doing video. We're uploading a video every day, a new video every day,
which is a full-time job.
Is it like kind of like semi-live during the season?
So we played around with that some. We did a semi-live turkey hunt last spring with Jordan's wife, Jessie. That was fun. We definitely, 2-inch long spurs. It was wicked. But we're definitely toying around a lot more with that semi-live stuff. All the stuff we're doing right now is just a lot of tip videos, deer tactics, food plot stuff, waterfowl stuff. There's some wild game recipe stuff, you know, just covering all the bases.
We even got dog training videos.
Yeah, we got dog training videos on there too. We got everything, man.
Man, I love free stuff on YouTube and short videos and all that stuff. So everybody listening needs to make sure to get on the channel. And like their stuff, so they keep doing it.
I gotta mention too, because everyone always asks, like, when are you gonna put? We want some like Primos 1, 2, you know, the old stuff. So in those daily uploads, I'm not sure how. Every Sunday, Primos Originals. They're uploading like I think the last one they uploaded was like an elk Brad killed and Primos Truth. Some single
of the
digit
most
number.
Memorable hunts people remember from watching Truth.
The old stuff. So
that
people
Will Walker elk hunt.
The 2 1 yard one or whatever it was.
Kills the bucket. I mean, it kills the bull at like 1 yard. Like
I don't think the arrow had completely left the arrow rest before it entered the bull's vitals.
He didn't even aim.
Yeah,
it just kind of pointed.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but people always ask us for that. Have always asked for that. You know, want some of the old classic stuff, and we're finally being able to do it. So.
All right, so everybody subscribe and then hit that little alert button so you get that and make it worth their while.
I'm definitely looking forward to that, especially when y'all start rolling out all the old turkey hunts.
Oh yeah,
that's my heart blood right there. Yeah. Those old school turkey hunts.
Come next spring, they'll be here.
All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate the time. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Fun talking to you.
Coming out.
Yeah, absolutely
we'll have to do
enjoyed
this
it
again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're out down south.
We're out down south.